From buying off players to threatening the very existence of the PGA Tour, Live Golf was definitely able to grab more than a few headlines with its debut season. And now the CEO, Greg Norman, has once again turned his guns toward members of PGA Tours, Rory McIlroy to be specific. But why would he do that? Is there something that we're missing out on? Well, don't worry, because I've got your back. Here are all the updates regarding the PGA versus Live feud that you might have missed. So, unless you've been living under a rock, you probably already know the sort of rivalry these two golfers share. It's obvious that neither of them is a big fan of the other, and clearly they have a vendetta against each other's organizations. In keeping with what's basically become the norm, Norman made a verbal attack aimed at McIlroy. To be fair though, the Irishman started it this time, and we'll be getting into all that later in the video. But first, it's only fair to hear what Greg had to say. So, the Aussie golfer turned businessman thinks that McIlroy really doesn't know what he's talking about when it comes to Live League. I guess you could expect more of a similar statement in the coming days.
I started practicing and playing in the last maybe 3 to 4 weeks. No, we've look. I'd say at the end of the day, you've just got to look at your options. What you've got today,
That's right. The Live drama is going to be hitting a new level as the second season has started, and this time around, they're directly coming for the CEO. Many people have opened up about how Norman is the main reason why there's a rift between these two leagues. But how is that possible? You see, the Aussie has had a personal grudge against the PGA Tour for quite some time now, so people think a truce between the two parties can only be reached if he steps down as CEO. Norman, while talking about McIlroy, mentioned that he's been getting vitriol and hatred. He stated that this was the hardest part of the process. Yikes.
And it was the 16th hole, par 5. I actually missed the fairway to the left.
And from my recollection, that was it. I didn't see.
I almost feel bad for him. He mentioned that people were trying to throw as much as they possibly can at the Live CEO. Well, it must to be him at this point. Norman also mentioned that he felt extremely undermined as people continue to trash him whichever way they could. Well, from the looks of it, he's taking things personally now.
You just say the way it is. You know, he shows it with his play. Teams have been trying to be squashed, but they couldn't squash us. And golf was always going to be.
Norman thinks it's time that the outspoken PGA member really watches his words before uttering them out loud.
To me, as a player, was being an independent contractor.
Yeah.
And standing like our icon, the Shark, we keep moving. With that, I'm thrilled to announce.
Of course, it only makes sense for me to mention the comment Norman is talking about. Well, as you note that this isn't exactly the first time the Irishman has said something against the Live CEO. But hey, something about this time really hit the Aussie hard. McIlroy said that it was about time that Norman took a final bow.
Look, my opinion is they shouldn't be here. They've been paid a lot of...
Go to Sullivan. We didn't miss that. Sullivan.
And walked away from all this. Now, I don't know what made McIlroy say this. It's clear that Norman is busy lining up his pockets with this new tour, and honestly, he's pretty much the perfect frontman the Saudi Finance League could have chosen. He pretty much ticked all the boxes. Grievances with the PGA Tour? Check. Wanted to start his own tour? Check. But now that they have made a name for themselves in the sport, would the league be getting rid of him? The senior PGA member thinks that it is important that they do so. In his own words, this civil war between the two golf leagues cannot be resolved.
In your 40s, and maybe you don't hit the ball as far as you used to, and it's the year has been it is the reason why I've topped.
At least not unless there's an adult in the room. Now this just explains why Norman got so annoyed by this particular comment. But hey, as I said, this comment seemed to hit the Aussie hard, and it seems like there's a reason behind that. Apparently the Saudi financiers of the league are thinking of replacing him. Yep, that's right. I guess they've achieved what they wanted and are now looking for a more diplomatic person who won't take petty shots at their biggest competition. That's obviously a good thing for McIlroy, since he said Greg needs to go. Yep, he's been pretty clear about it. Plus, while the Irishman might want the Live frontman out of here, it seems like Norman has somewhat admired the guy.
So then I hear from, you always can have your pundits out there, right, in the social media world, but reaching out of millions of people to try and give you this feeling of
Now that's a complicated position to be in, don't you think? Because you see, when talking about McIlroy's latest jibe at him, the CEO of LIV said that he had always been a fan of McIlroy. Okay, I'm sure that this will be changing pretty soon now. Anyway, Norman said that McIlroy needed to really watch what was going on and take stock of the situation. Now, is it just me, or does it really seem like a hidden threat? Yikes.
Big boy like your dad, huh?
The feud between these two parties just continues to get worse. The Aussie seems to think that a time will come when McIlroy will regret his remarks. In his own words, in the end, there might be a situation that'll prove to be rather frustrating for the Irishman. He might find himself facing a few questions that he may not want to answer.
Bottle it for the weekend. Yeah, your description's pretty right. Pretty much very. And it's going to fracture the game more than it already is, because this, the professional world in golf has already been.
Why would he not like these questions? I guess he's worried that the way McIlroy is portraying himself in the media, it's gonna be hard for him to come back from this. Now, does this mean what I think it means? If it does, then this is going to contribute to pretty much all of our trust issues, and it will largely affect golf. What am I talking about? Well, here's the thing. Seems like Norman is confident about the fact that McIlroy might be turning to their side. Okay, I'm gonna give you a moment to take this in. Yes, this puts a lot of questions in our minds. Rory McIlroy, along with Tiger Woods, has been pretty much the most vocal spokesperson for the American Tour. So if he really shifts, then it's gonna really shake things up. Of course, chances aren't that this is all a hoax, and there's no way McIlroy would switch to the enemy side. After all, Norman has made up things in the past, which turned out to be a huge lie. But whatever the status of McIlroy's induction into the LIV League might be, Greg Norman already has a lot on his plate. The second season of this breakaway league just began in Mexico. Now, while they might be able to keep their players happy with big fat checks, it's important to note that it really doesn't provide much scope for career growth, at least not yet. You see, the points given in the LIV matches aren't really admissible in global rankings. Oh, and on top of this, the players aren't even able to play in any of the majors. Norman has opened up about how he's trying his best to deal with all of this at the moment. He said that not being considered for global rankings is unfair to the players, and also takes away credibility from the sport. How did he make that connection? Oh well, you see, this allows players from the bottom to bypass much better players who have shifted to LIV.
Yep.
And as for the majors, Norman has only one thing to say. According to him, they should be like Switzerland, completely neutral. He stated that they were a brand of their own, and no one should be kept from competing in them. Alright, that makes sense. But hey, adding all this to the rumors that he might be replaced soon, seems like the man really didn't have a good start to his year. It's definitely gonna be interesting to see how things turn out to be. And with that being said, it's a wrap for Norman's warning towards McIlroy. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.